We are flying out to Japan today. This has been a long planned out trip for a while. I'm pretty excited. This is going to be a month-long trip, and I've been wanting to do this for a while. It was originally supposed to happen 4 years ago before I started medical school. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the time because medical school started too quick, and now I've matched into residency for anesthesiology. This is supposed to be my pre-graduation trip. Yeah, I'm super excited. The flight itself is not super long. I got lucky. The first time I went, because I had studied abroad there before for, what was it, like 2 weeks. It was a really long flight. It was like over 24 hours. This one is pretty short. It's a 2-hour flight to my layover destination, and then like 12 hours from there. So I'm gonna be getting there at a good time, around 3 p.m. and I'll be meeting up with some other people. So this is gonna be fun. I'm excited. This trip also, I've been planning for over 6 months. Every time I had some free time, I was working on my itinerary, my schedule, everything on it. And I have a very, very detailed itinerary. Hopefully we'll get through. I left almost no room for sleep. We are talking about, what was it? Maybe 6 to 7 hours of sleep most nights. And that's if we got lucky. And I didn't leave much space for, even traveling in between locations and everything. It's gonna be packed. Just to give you guys an idea, the first part of this trip, maybe about a week and a half to 2 weeks, is gonna be very action-packed. We're gonna start a little slower in Tokyo, and then we're gonna go to a different city like every single day. We're gonna go from like Tokyo to Kyoto to Osaka to Kobe, and so on and so forth. Keep going towards the west. And then after that, we're going to go back to Kyoto and Osaka. I'm going to spend about like 4 days on my own there, and then after that my girlfriend will be arriving, and from there we'll finish off about like 10 days, taking a little bit slower, going to Osaka and Kyoto, and then hitting up places like Nara, Nagoya, Uji, places that we didn't really get to hit up the first time, and then finishing up in Tokyo in a much slower paced manner. So I'm pretty excited. I hope you guys are ready to see this entire journey with me. I got some surprises along the way, and hopefully you guys will like it. So see you guys in Japan. After my flight got delayed a whole hour and then having to get through customs, which took another hour, I finally met up with Derek. And let me tell you, this was not looking good for our schedule considering how meticulously I had scheduled everything. But nonetheless, you have to be adaptable, and so we went to go look for our JR passes so we can start on our journey. While Derek was waiting for me, he actually ran into one of his friends who he just attended their wedding for about 2 days ago. So what are the chances? It's just funny how life works out. So we both got our JRs and we're headed to our hotel. And I wanted to mention kind of a unique aspect of this trip for me. The JR pass only lasts 21 days, 14 days, or 7 days, so I actually had to buy 2 passes. I got a 21-day and a 7-day, and yes, you can do that if you're planning on staying for longer than the 21 days. I will admit, on hindsight, I didn't need the 7-day pass, but at the time, I didn't know that. So I got both, and I actually didn't activate it today because I was going to be in Japan for 29 days, and so I wanted to use it for my last 28 days, specifically for the train back to the airport, just so I wouldn't have to deal with it. So I didn't activate it just yet. Instead, I just paid for the ticket out of pocket. Since we flew into Narita, the Skyliner was going to take about an hour to get into Tokyo, and then we would have to take the local subway in order to get to our hotel. We did get a hotel a little bit further out of the way because it was cheaper, but at the end of the day, it doesn't make that big of a difference. Say cheese. Alright, so we finally are on our way to our hotel. Finally. It was a little bit chaotic. My flight got delayed, like 2 hours? You had to change your flight like last minute. It's been
we're here.
We're here. Yeah. So this is my friend Derek. Yeah. He's also we're both medical students for now. For what, another? You have less time actually. You're gonna graduate soon.
Yeah.
In a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Lucky you. But we're both gonna be anesthesiologists. Gotta do this graduation trip or pre-graduation trip, I guess. And yeah, so hopefully things go smooth from this point on, because that 2-hour delay definitely didn't help things. And then I got stuck in customs forever. That was like a good probably hour as well. Yeah, so I guess we're gonna get to the hotel pretty late, but hopefully we'll have some time to at least check out the city a little bit before we call it a night, because tomorrow we're gonna have to hit it pretty hard, so let's see how that goes.
On the schedule, we're hitting it pretty hard every day so far, so we'll see how far we get.
True, very true. Alright, so we just had an interesting situation. We did not realize that the seats on the Kansai were like assigned, so we just sat down and we just got kicked out of the seats. It was very awkward, but that's something to keep in mind if you take this train. The first time I came to Japan, I took a bus back to our hotel, and I was taking pictures constantly throughout the bus ride. I'm not gonna lie, I was super excited. I think I did around 200 photos just getting to the hotel, which I don't recommend. This time, I got small little clips for you guys to see. It was a gloomier day, and it was getting late, so of course there's not much to see at this point. But one thing I wanted to mention is that you can get a 48, 72-hour, and a 24-hour subway pass for Tokyo. That plus your JR pass will really serve you well, because that pretty much means you don't have to worry about refilling your Suica or having to buy single ride tickets. I recommend you buy it at the airport if you can, because it will save you some time. You can buy it at other locations, but it'll help in your initial travels. It looks like Derek is trapped over there. Very unfortunate. So I did not activate my JR pass. For today, so I bought a ticket for the continuation of this train ride, because this train ride allowed JR Pass, but my JR Pass was going to expire one day before the end of my trip, so I decided to just go ahead and start it for tomorrow and just pay everything out of pocket, which honestly it wasn't too bad. I think I only ended up paying 180 yen, which is like less than $2, like maybe $1.50 for the next leg of this trip, so not bad at all. Fortunately, Derek is trapped. He is trapped trying to figure out how to get through with his JR pass, because yeah, it's not working. I assume he has to go up, but yeah, you know, a little bit confusion. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Like, I was so lost at the machine that someone just came and helped me, but definitely like hit those call buttons on the machines if you really need help, because this can get really chaotic at times. With Derek safely through, I want to give a quick shout out to Liquid IV. They are our sponsor for today, and let me tell you, it came in very handy on this trip. With the amount of walking we did, especially in the heat, we were getting very dehydrated, and Liquid IV was coming in clutch. So I highly recommend you get some if you plan on going to places like Japan, since they are easy to travel with. I'll have a link in the description below if you want to check them out. I also wanted to mention the music that I'm playing in this video. So this song is by one of the artists that I actually met while I was in Japan, and that actually led me to start a new YouTube channel to help kind of push Japanese music, and especially new Japanese artists throughout the world. And I made a whole YouTube channel dedicated to this, so please go check it out if you want to help support this up-and-coming group, as well as others that are going to be joining me on this journey. Again, I'll have a link for that in the description below, but if you're looking for the YouTube name, it is called J-Surge. Make sure you comment below any information you might want for your travels to Japan, because it can be pretty daunting. I did spend 6 months planning for this trip, plus my previous experiences, which honestly I kind of forgot most of, so I had to learn everything anew. So I'd love to help you, whether it's getting through the subways, the trains, whatever it may be. You let me know in the comments below, and I'll try my best to help you out. We lost Derek for a bit, but luckily he's found safe and sound.
Yeah, it's all a machine malfunction.
Yeah. So yeah, again, don't be afraid to ask for help.
Exactly.
At this point, we got onto the JR. Now, keep in mind, this isn't the Shinkansen or the bullet train, but rather the local JR trains that run throughout Tokyo as well. So your JR pass will work on that, but it's kind of interesting how it kind of works. So that is something for its own dedicated video if that's something you're interested in finding out about. But it's funny, coming back to Japan, the first thing I do remember was being on that subway and then being just in these terminals. It's so interesting how lively it is, how many people there are around you, and it just brought back a flood of memories. Just the first time I was in Japan, it was a flood of emotions, but also just nostalgia, and it felt great to experience once again. Japan has this feeling every time I go to it that just makes me feel warm inside, but also just makes me, I guess, feel so much stimuli coming at once that I can't help but want to experience every little thing that I can, but realizing that I really don't have that much time to do everything that I would hope to. Luckily for me, this was Derek's, I think, third time coming to Japan, so he was pretty familiar with how to route himself around the terminals, how to get from point A to point B, so that came in really handy for me, since honestly the first time I came, we had a tour guide with us who kind of handled everything. So I was trying to observe him, make sure I learned everything I could, and it was funny, because after he left, I didn't realize how easy it actually was to navigate through the subway systems and the train system, but again, it's very daunting the first time. Look at Derek. He's just walking around like he is a local. Meanwhile, I'm trying to be helpful, but not really helping in any way, shape, or form. It was at this point that we needed to use our subway pass. We did get the 72-hour pass since we were going to be here for at least 3 days. And luckily, just for your own knowledge, it doesn't activate until the moment you use it. So it's not 3 continuous days as far as the day you activate it counts as 24 hours, but rather it is 72 hours from when you actually use it for the first time. And this thing really comes in handy. I think it was about $1,500 for just the 3-day pass and $800 for the 1-day pass, if I'm not mistaken. And the beauty of this pass is that we really didn't have to use our Suica. I think total for the entire month I was in Japan, I only used Suica maybe a total of $50 worth. And you might be wondering why it's not working here. It's because we tried taking a JR line, which it doesn't work on, which we were trying to test because we weren't sure whether it would or not. So that's something to keep in mind. The local JR trains don't work because they're not subways. So at this point, we got our Suica cards. I loaded at least 3,000 yen's worth, which is, a little under maybe $25. And keep in mind, when you first get a Suica or an IC card, they charge 500 yen just for making the card. So I put in 3,000 yen, but out of that, it only loads on 2,500. So something to keep in mind. It's not a big deal if you don't load enough on there, because if you were to ride a subway or a train or whatever, and you didn't have enough funds on your Suica, they just don't let you through the second gate at your destination until you load more money in. So just make sure you always have some cash on hand, because the only time that I really needed to use cash was for loading my Suica and a few local restaurants or stores that just didn't use credit card. But now, for most of Japan, you can use a credit card, which was really nice, but also was unfortunate because I brought too much yen with me, and in the first week or so, I was only using credit card thinking, oh, I'll run out of yen quickly, which was not the case. We decided to leave all our luggage at the hotel before meeting up with Peter, which is Derek's friend who actually lives in Japan and goes to dental school in Japan. He was going to be our local tour guide to help us out for the first leg of the trip, but we didn't want to have all our luggage with us as we went around, and we wanted to make sure we knew where our hotel was and about how far it was, so that way we could plan accordingly for later in the night when we had to get back to the hotel. The place that we booked our hotel was a little bit quieter. It was actually really nice. It's weird to see how quiet it was in this part of Tokyo, and it was a nice little night stroll as well. It was really good weather. We were just feeling energetic, but we weren't extremely hot like we usually are when we come to Japan in the summers. After a decent amount of walking and getting a little bit lost, we did end up finding our lodging for the night. It was called Lodging Tokyo, and personally, this was one of my favorite places to stay. However, as you can tell, we weren't sure how to get in. We were coming past curfew slightly, I guess, so we had to put in a code, which wasn't a big deal. We just had to figure out what it was because we didn't realize we had to put one in. So, you get to watch us struggle for a little bit as we figure that out. Luckily, we got in, and Derek was checking us in while I did just a quick 360 to see what the living area looked like. It's pretty nice. You had a TV, a couch, a place to switch out your shoes for slippers, and then these were our pods, kind of. They were actually pretty spacious. It might not look like it, but it was a nice thick futon with a blanket, a towel, a little safe to keep your stuff in, 2 outlets, but specifically USB outlets, so keep that in mind, and then 1 outlet for plugging in anything that's pronged. You also had your own light switch, which had a dimmer control, and you had a place to hang clothes if you needed to, which was a really nice touch. You could store your luggage at the front desk with a bicycle lock, so if you need to access it at any time, you could, which wasn't too bad, and there was a kitchen. Once we're out of rain. Well, maybe not.
It does say auto.
It does say auto. All right, time to hit up Akihabara. That was definitely a stressful start, but we are ready to go. This is a nice little area though. It's nice and quiet. Not much going on around here. A lot of bicyclists around here. Kitchen Origin. Interesting. I might try that for breakfast tomorrow.
Yeah, it's even better than Starbucks.
Yeah. Alrighty, so we have finally found a Subway and got to use our 72-hour pass on it, and it worked.
Yeah.
So that's good to know that it at least works and that it won't be wasted. But that definitely is going to come in handy. So now we have like 3 different forms of like payment, I guess, or transportation access. So we got the JR Pass, we have the Suica, and then we have the 72-hour pass, all for Tokyo. So hopefully we won't have to pay anymore at this point. Yeah. That should cover us for everything, hopefully. Well, I guess Suica we're reloading, but all right, let's see how this ends up being. After a nice short subway ride, we made our way to Akihabara, where we were trying to find Peter. So it turns out that we ended up on the subway lines while he ended up on the JR lines, so we had to find the JR station, and that did take us a little while, but luckily Derek is an amazing navigator, so we did not get lost. Or he didn't get lost, I got lost. But we did end up finding his friend Peter, who's waiting for us patiently, luckily, and didn't get mad that we took forever because we were lost for a bit. But with him on board, we didn't have to worry about navigation anymore. Peter was going to be able to take us wherever we needed to go most efficiently, and that is the beauty of having a local. And honestly, walking around Akihabara at night felt really nice. It's been a long time since I've been in Tokyo, and the first time I was in Tokyo, we only stayed, I think, 1 night or 2 nights, so we didn't really get to do much exploring. This time, I actually got to experience Akihabara at night, and there are so many lights. I mean, we didn't go into the main area for like the anime and all the cafes, but at the same time, you can just see how bright it is outside, how engaging it is, and, you know, of course, there's people handing out flyers and stuff, and it feels weird to say no, so we took it. But we were trying to find some dinner because it was getting late, and you know, in Japan, a lot of things close pretty early, including restaurants, so you have to be ready to go eat at whatever is open, and luckily, Peter knew exactly where to go. For our first meal, he decided to take us for some curry, and it was funny because this place, he said, is #1 for Japanese curry, and the name of it is Coco Ichiban, which is pretty much #1 curry, so hopefully it lived up to its name. And it was one of the few places that's opened extremely late, so that comes in really handy as well for us since it had gotten pretty late that day already. I could tell by the line that this place must be good. I mean, they were full, they have an actual line coming out of the restaurant, and we weren't really in the main part of Akihabara to where, oh, a ton of tourists are coming through like we are. So I was having my expectations pretty high, and their menu was pretty big as well. So luckily we did get a seat at a counter, and one thing that you probably know at this point is that you don't really tip in Japan. So whatever price you see is just the price you're paying, and generally that also includes tax already. Some places will have a second price that it shows tax as well, but generally the price that's shown is already including tax. So that's also really nice. There's no surprises. The nice thing about Coco Ichiban was you can also customize your curries, and I think that's one of the things that they like to mention as well, is that they are one of the few places where you can fully customize your curry however you want. And of course, I love spicy, and I saw some spicy garlic tonkatsu curry, and I was like, you know what, let's get that. I wouldn't mind getting a little spicy garlic tonkatsu curry, although I realized afterwards it was just a cutlet, which personally didn't matter to me. I just needed something a little bit spicy. But look at this huge menu that they have. I mean, this is just me scrolling through the first few things, the limited time offer ones, and this doesn't include everything that you can customize as well. So after you pick your curry, you have a lot of different options, including what kind of sauce you want, rice portions, spice level, mild level, toppings. Honestly, there's so much to customize about it that it was pretty interesting to see. However, I wasn't sure how big the portion size was going to be, and I was pretty hungry, but I also didn't want to overdo it because I don't really like to waste food, and in Japan it's also considered pretty rude to leave any food on your plate, so I decided to keep it pretty simple this time around. After a short wait, our food was ready, and I decided to do a couple add-ons to mine. I got some corn, and then I also got cheese in mine, because I heard that's really popular to do in Japan, especially for curry, so I wanted to try it out. And then you'll notice they also give you a bottle for the sauce that you chose, and then they put the garlic and spices separate as well, which is pretty nice. I ended up putting a decent amount of sauce on mine just because I love having a lot of flavor, and the total for this entire bill was only about 1,400 yen, which really wasn't that bad. I was pretty shocked, honestly. I will mention that if you're worried about spice level, generally, food in Japan when I order spicy is not spicy at all or very, very mild spice. So keep that in mind. There's very few exceptions I had, such as ramen, but that's something to keep in mind if you're someone who loves spicy food like I do. But anyways, we decided to continue on and we wanted to check out more of Akihabara this night. So Peter decided to show us the way. Since I had scheduled a lot more time in Akihabara later down the trip, I didn't put anything too specific for us to do this night. So it was kind of a free-for-all. We did decide to walk around and see if anything piqued our interest. Specifically, we decided to go to a crane machine and maybe play some video games while we're at it, because why not? That's one of the best things to do in Japan, especially in Akihabara. And luckily for us, we did see the Jijo or Gigo, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but those used to be the Sega buildings if I'm not mistaken, because when I came 7 years ago, that's what I remember being in this exact spot. And I did see a Raichu plush that was piquing my interest. I saw some figures that I really wanted to win as well. But I know these crane machines are generally not easy to win, and I wasn't sure if I should go for such a big prize that actually might take a lot of money to win. So we just kind of circled around a bit, and I did see some more interesting looking figures and plushes, and then I saw these mini ones, and I was like, maybe, just maybe I could win this mini Kirby. Because, I mean, how much money could it really take to win one of these as long as I'm pretty accurate? Am I right? Well, I was wrong. I spent a little too much money and a little too much time trying to win this Kirby. And it was pretty sad how much I spent, because at the end of the day, I could have just bought the Kirby for the amount of money I spent. But the amount I ended up spending was about 2,000 yen, which is maybe around $15 or so. I will admit, of those 20 attempts, I did whiff a couple, especially in the start, but then there were some where I was just really sad because it showed that the claw machine had no grip whatsoever, like this one. It really should have worked, in my opinion. I mean, honestly, for some of these, it just wasn't even pulling it off the ground much. I mean, it was pretty sad to watch, but I decided to keep wasting some money and just see, since I had already kind of sunk in so much money, I was like, why not try again? You'll notice that we really tried to strategize different ways to possibly win this tiny little Kirby. Nothing was working, and honestly, it just looked like that claw had no grip whatsoever, and I know some claw machines are programmed to increase claw strength as you play, so I was hoping maybe I'd get lucky, and one of the claws would just happen to have full strength, or even a little bit more strength. We even tried looping it into the little band that was sticking out, but it would still just slip right through. I mean, this claw had no strength whatsoever, and as you can see, I just spent so much money trying to win this Kirby. It was a sunk cost at this point, but I couldn't help it. It was the first day, and I was just like, you know what, I feel like playing a lot, let's just give it a try. But yeah, it didn't lead to anything. I mean, some of these were just straight up whiffs, hoping that we could get the band, and yeah, it was pretty sad. I was pretty sad after all these attempts. The Kirby was taunting me at this point. After that, we made our way upstairs where we saw some My Hero Academia figures, and I was like, you know what, let's give it a try. And of course, I could not win these to save my life. And we actually saw a guy win a ton of these. He had 2 huge duffels filled with figures that he was winning within 4 to 5 attempts of this game. Like, it was really weird to see. And then he finally got kicked out, and he just kind of laughed and ran off. He was an older man too, so it was pretty funny, but it was just amazing to see how easily some people can win these. After that, we made our way up to the video games. Specifically, these are the musical type of video games. They usually have pianos, drums, guitars, different kinds of instrumental type of video games. It's really cool to see. And I've seen people play these, and it's pretty insane. It looks like they live in these arcades and just practice all day long, because it's just amazing how well they do on games like these. Some of them even wear gloves, like this guy right here, just to get into the role, I guess. I don't know if it's to help with fatigue or what, but it's just so crazy. So they decide they want to play the drums, and I wanted to watch because I am not coordinated whatsoever, so I thought it'd be more fun for me to just observe them kill this game in a way that I could never do.
Okay, like this? Oh shit. Wait. What the heck is that?
Gotta blow up the balloon! I think you guys can do hard. I think you guys can do hard.
Alright. So let us play again? Yeah, we get 3 tries.
Oh, perfect. How did you feel? It was great, right? Yeah?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Derek, how'd you feel?
My forearms are burning.
All right, perfect. Our workout for the day.
Oh. I don't know how to keep it up though. Oh my god. Yeah. But it's only 3 stars, so yeah. That is the difficulty, right? Yeah.
At this point, Derek had to sub me in because his forearms were killing him. And I am not very coordinated for these kinds of things, so I already knew I was going to fail pretty bad. But we decided to do a easy enough song, but of course, knowing me, I didn't want to go with the easiest level.
You see that? What do you mean? The hard? No, I didn't mean hard.
You don't have to be the same difficulty.
Go, 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 go.
Hey.
I can see why you said the bar. Alright, nice.
How do you feel, Gaurav?
Not good, no. You can tell this day's so much water.
Oh, Hero's on fire.
You know what it was? Obviously you're much more experienced, you can afford a nice suit and everything, you know? You're all leveled up.
Well, Derek got the gold, so.
Oh, is that bronze there?
Yeah, that's
It looked gold to me for a second.
Yeah, no, that's a gold. That's very gold.
Oh, okay, good.
Don't worry about that. At this point, we decide to head out and go back to our hotel so we could rest up for a full day in Tokyo tomorrow. But of course, as we headed back, we had to get some ice cream on the way and, you know, enjoy our night a little bit. So we got some of this grape flavored ice cream, which was actually really, really good. Highly recommend. Make sure you tune in for day 2.